Are you Miss Staples?
Yes, how can I help you?
So, we got kind of a weird phone call. Do you know Latricia?
No.
No?
I don't know anybody out here.
Some lady called DCFS.
What?
And kind of made some claims that you had a child that accidentally shot themselves?
Absolutely not.
This all happened late at night on July 25th, 2023, when police officers were called out to a family home in Rock Island. They were sent to that address after an extremely disturbing phone call claiming that a child had supposedly gone missing about 6 months earlier. But no one actually knew who this child was, what had really happened, or even whether the call itself was legitimate. In fact, even the officers who arrived at the scene seemed completely stunned, and that's not even mentioning the mother, who was reportedly caring for 4 children.
You've never had a son named Zion?
No.
One of the calls from 2021, DCFS came out to your residence in Chicago, and there was a Zion Staples there.
But the second visit the following day ended with an incredibly grim outcome and a discovery that would leave you shocked and, honestly, deeply disturbed at the same time. It was just a normal day for most people in Rock Island. But for this mother, her children, and a few police officers, the next several days were about to unfold in a very different way. It all started when an unidentified person contacted the Department of Children and Family Services saying they were seriously concerned about the condition of a neighbor's child. This actually wasn't the first time that person had reached out to DCFS. But this time, after sharing some extremely alarming information, their report was finally taken seriously. The caller turned out to be a neighbor and a friend of a woman named Sushi Staples, a mother of several children. And here's the part that really raised red flags. Sushi reportedly told this friend that her son, Zion, quote, would not be coming home for Christmas anymore. And yeah, like you'd probably agree, that did not sound reassuring at all. Sushi and her children had been living in Rock Island for several years without ever changing addresses. For most of her kids, the house located at 20th Street and 2 Avenue had been their home for their entire lives. Rock Island is a small Midwestern city with deep industrial roots, sitting right along the Mississippi River. It's a city in Illinois that's part of the Quad Cities metro area. Rock Island developed as a major industrial and transportation hub because of its location on the river. Today, it blends that blue-collar history with the presence of Augustana College and the quiet, laid-back feel of small-town America. And now I'm curious. What city are you watching this video from? What time is it where you are right now? I always like knowing where my audience is and what hour you're tuning in. Alright, let's keep going. Their mother, Sushi Staples, worked as a caring patient care assistant and had a job just a few miles from home at Mercy One Genesis Hospital. On top of that, she was also enrolled at a local community college, trying to continue her education after getting a fairly late start. The thing is, Sushi had officially divorced her husband, Lenz, and that split was, to put it lightly, extremely painful. After everything they had been through, the two reportedly grew to openly resent each other, and when he started seeing another woman, that pretty much sealed the end of it. The new partner appeared to openly hate Sushi, but Lenz wasn't the only man she had children with. In fact, Sushi was the mother of 8 children, with a 12-year age gap between the oldest and the youngest. At one point, she was deemed unfit to care for her 2 oldest children and lost custody of them. Those children were placed under the supervision of Department of Children and Family Services in the state of Illinois. Unfortunately, there were other rumors circulating as well. Those rumors not only explained why Sushi no longer wanted to see him, but also why she reportedly kept a firearm. Still, from the outside, the Staples household appeared completely normal and even happy. And by the year 2023, according to official records, only Sushi and her 4 younger daughters were living in the home. Neighbors later recalled seeing the girls outside in the yard, doing, very normal kid stuff, drawing with colourful chalk on the driveway, playing together, just spending time with each other. The family lived simply, though, because financially things were unstable after the breakup, the divorce, and everything that happened before and after it. Sushi was a single mother, doing everything she could to raise at least 4 children on her own. No matter how you look at it, being a single parent is incredibly hard under any circumstances. And with several mouths to feed, she was receiving government assistance for each child living with her. Yes, we're intentionally not getting into exact numbers here. Even so, there were clear signs that Sushi was trying to improve her situation. As mentioned earlier, she was working full-time and going to college at the same time, which is genuinely a positive step. But at least in the short term, this wasn't a family that could afford extras. No new family car, no vacations, nothing like that. Several neighbors noticed that Sushi often talked about going to church, but in reality, she never actually showed up there. And speaking of attendance, or really the lack of it, none of her children had ever gone to school. That was because Sushi believed in homeschooling. The Staples children were essentially isolated from the rest of America. With no school to attend, they spent most of their time inside the family home, and that made it much harder for outsiders to really keep an eye on how they were doing or what their lives were like. And when it comes to watching over the kids, some neighbors started growing seriously concerned about a 5th child in that house. The reason was simple. They hadn't seen her son, Zion, for several months. And that's when the strange comments started. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine someone just casually walking around town and saying that their son won't be home for Christmas anymore. Nobody says something like that without hinting at something very serious. So, after that pretty ominous remark Sushi made to a neighbor, she decided to contact the Department of Children and Family Services, and shortly after that, the police became involved too. That was the day police officers were sent to the home of so-called Sushi Staples, after Department of Children and Family Services requested a welfare check on the family. As the officers approached the family house, located in the 1700 block of 20th Street and 2 Avenue, it became clear almost immediately that Sushi was not happy to see police officers standing at her door. And honestly, I get it. A lot of communities have lost trust in law enforcement. But Sushi didn't just seem annoyed, she appeared openly irritated, even aggressive. The body camera footage you're seeing here is, at times, pretty long and honestly kind of dull. So for this video, I've trimmed it down to only the most important moments. Every now and then, I'll also pause the footage to share my thoughts along the way.
Hi.
Are you Miss Staples?
Yes, how can I help you?
So we got kind of a weird phone call. Do you know Latricia?
No.
No.
I don't know anybody out here.
Some lady called DCFS. And,
What?
And kind of made some claims that you had a child that accidentally shot themselves.
Absolutely not.
As you can see, the officers didn't waste any time here. They showed up to figure out exactly what had happened to Zion, so they got straight to the point, trying to save everyone time. But there's one detail that really stands out. Sushi didn't sound surprised at all when she heard the claims that her child was supposedly dead. You might expect at least some kind of reaction, like a moment of shock or even relief at hearing news she claimed she didn't know before. Instead, she simply denied it, almost as if the whole thing was trivial, like it didn't even matter.
No, it sounds crazy to me too. That's what.
I am so sorry about this. My ex-husband, his new girlfriend, this broad is off the chain. I have went down to Rock Island and filed a police report on her.
Okay.
I have went and put a restraining order on her.
What's her name?
Her name is Tony. This girl is never in it. She has so many different Facebook pages she stalks me from. She has made up different names, called me from different numbers. I have changed my number, tried to do everything I can.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can never seem to get them served because they're always bouncing around in the Chicago area.
Oh, okay. They're not even down here.
They're not even out here. And
Okay.
it's been a constant
Have we been here before?
No, you've never come to my house for anything. I've been here for 7 years and never had a problem in Rock Island.
Yeah, I didn't know who you were.
I work at Genesis Hospital. I'm a patient care tech. I'm a student at Eastern Iowa Community College.
Okay.
I have a business in Davenport. This girl has made threats towards me on Facebook, posting her gun up, saying that she's gonna come to my addy. It's just never ending.
Right. So they made some allegation that you had a son and he shot himself.
Sir,
and he's in your basement.
Come on now. You think, look where I live.
She stayed angry and defensive throughout the entire interaction with the officers, and when they asked if they could take a look at the basement, she flat out refused.
No, I get it. Just so I can check the box off, can I look in your basement real quick and I'll get out of
No,
here?
you need a search warrant to do that. I'm sorry, I'm not about to have my rights violated because someone makes Uranus allegations like this.
I know. Like I said, it sounded crazy to me too. I'm just up here seeing if, we have to investigate it, no matter how crazy it sounds.
If you want to do that, I would suggest you go through the proper protocols. I'm not about to let some crazy woman who has my husband make Uranus accusations like this and have my rights violated as a
No,
citizen.
I get it.
That is not okay. I have 4 girls in here.
That's what I'm just asking. I'm not
4 children.
I'm not trying to blame anything on you. I'm not saying this is true. I was just asking. And you guys only have girls?
Yes.
Okay.
I have 4. Do you want to see them?
No. They said it was a son. I was just curious if that's even true.
It's not.
Okay.
It's a never-ending story with these two.
I get it. Like I said, I'm not trying to bother you or anything, but we get a call, no matter how crazy it sounds, we still got to come up and see if there's any truth. All right. Well, sorry to bother you. Okay. It's like I said, we get a call, we got to show up.
They got to the point now where they don't have my phone number, so they emailing me. Okay. I have spam emails here from these people. I'm gonna go down here. The last one I got was. Let me see.
Is it have a name on it?
Yes, it has his name on it. I have to go here. This is the last one I have. And this gotten to the point where they're emailing me because they don't have a contact phone number on me.
Right.
This is how bad the harass has gotten.
Okay.
But until I can get Rock Island to Cook County to serve them and actually find the address on them,
Right.
that's going to be a problem. So they keep having me come back to court until I can get an address on them.
I'll add some notes just in the call that I was here and that it's a harassment thing, so we don't have to keep coming up here and...
Thank you.
All right. Sorry to bug you. Just like I said, we got to call, even if it sounds crazy, we got to come and see what's going on.
This lady, I don't even know what to say about her. It's never ending.
All right.
I have Doorbell cams here.
I saw that.
After agreeing with the officers that she was being harassed, Sushi Staples ended the conversation by saying,
I'm here. I ain't got nothing to hide.
Okay.
Sushi claimed that she had never had a son named Zion. According to her, the entire story was nothing more than a cruel and deliberate scheme created by her ex-husband and his new partner. She insisted it was all a conspiracy meant to hurt her. But if she truly had nothing to hide, there's a simple and logical question that comes up. Why did she so categorically refuse to let officers into the house? It was obvious that Sushi Staples was extremely distressed. She was tense, sharp, and intensely defensive. Like every single question felt like a direct threat. What exactly she was trying to hide, though no one knew at that point. The atmosphere was heavy and unsettling, but without the proper warrant, the officers legally couldn't do anything more. So they had no choice but to step back and return to the station to try to obtain authorization through the appropriate legal channels. It's important to understand that Department of Children and Family Services, working alongside the relevant police units, wasn't acting blindly. They already had sufficient grounds to investigate. Zion wasn't some made-up name from a chaotic or unrealistic story. At the very least, DCFS could confirm that Zion Staples did, in fact, exist. His information appeared in official records. His name was in the systems. What's more, despite all of Sushi's denials, she continued to receive government benefits for a child named Zion. The money kept being deposited into her account regularly, without interruption and without explanation. That created a clear contradiction between her statements and the documented facts. So, if this entire story was fabricated, as she claimed, that raises another question. Why did the government payments keep coming if, according to her, such a child never existed? At the very least, this pointed to potential fraud on Sushi's part, collecting benefits for a child she was publicly denying. And that detail turned out to be critical. It gave police the legal grounds they needed to return to her home once again, this time for a second visit, but with a much clearer understanding that something in this story just didn't add up. And yeah, just one day after that first visit, they came back to the house, this time with a search warrant. From the new body cam footage, you can tell right away that the tone was completely different. The balance of power between Sushi Staples and the officers shifted instantly. Now the officers were prepared to search her home, and Sushi looked far more cautious and clearly shaken. In the end, she didn't really have a choice. She had to let them inside. And honestly, the officers didn't seem interested in wasting a single second. While two of them stayed with Sushi, the others headed down to the basement, looking for any signs or clues connected to Zion Staples. Meanwhile, upstairs, it became pretty obvious that Sushi was starting to panic over something, and whatever it was, it clearly wasn't small.
Do you know why we're here?
No, I don't. I don't know why you're here.
Okay.
And I'm really scared because my kids are upstairs and I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Can I call my family to tell them, to somebody to come?
You're not under arrest or anything
arrest.
like that, okay? That's why I'm sitting here talking to you, okay?
Okay, I'm scared to death because I don't know what's going on.
And so the reason we're here, okay, is because we're investigating a call that we had, okay? The officers came out and talked to you last night, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We have to handle that real seriously, okay? Because the allegations are that you have a son and that he's deceased and he's here in this house. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. Do you have a son named Zion?
No, I don't.
When she was asked again whether she had a son named Zion Staples, she once more answered with a simple, flat no, and then pivoted to saying she had recently gone through an identity theft situation. And honestly, it feels pretty telling that she already seemed to have a backup version of events ready to go.
You've never had a son named Zion?
No.
Are you claiming benefits for a kid named Zion?
No. I haven't gotten any benefits for anyone. I just recently went through a situation where a young lady stole my identity and she falsely filed my taxes and my information and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I've been working with the FBI. I've been working with the IRS. There's been a lot of things popping up. And
have you had any interactions with DCFS up in Chicago?
I did.
Okay.
False calls that were made.
Okay.
Correct.
One of the calls from 2021, DCFS came out to your residence in Chicago, and there was a Zion Staples there.
As time went on, it became more and more clear that law enforcement wasn't going to back down. They kept pressing on Sushi's version of events, carefully testing every part of it. And it really seemed like, with each passing hour, she was starting to realize that she was losing control of this situation.
Well, because we're seizing your phone, okay?
I understand you're seizing it, but that's like, I should be able to at least call my lawyer still. I shouldn't be held in my own house and not be able to call my counsel.
Well, are you requesting a lawyer right now? Because if you request a lawyer right now, we're done talking.
And then what? You're going to arrest me?
I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to search your house.
We're going to search his house upside down. Somewhere here we need to get to the bottom of this Zion thing.
I can't
And
help
this
it
is
when
coming
people
from
call.
other. This is coming from other people. This is
I
getting
can't
mentioned.
help it when
look,
people
this-
call and make
look-
allegations against me. People do this
Okay.
every day out of
Look,
spite.
And it was right at that moment that Sushi Staples finally broke in front of the officers. But even then, she still refused to admit that Zion Staples was a real person.
You need to come clean because we're not going anywhere. This is just, you're just going to dig yourself a bigger grave now. I asked you if there's anything with Zion's name in this house. You said no.
I needed some extra help, okay? That was it.
What do you mean by that?
I had a person that makes documents. And it was just really hard. Like,
So is Zion a real person?
you know, I can't call a lawyer and let them know you are here. I can't call a lawyer to come here to my house while I'm being questioned by you.
If you want an attorney right now, we can we'll just be done.
We'll be done.
All right.
But the investigation continues.
Okay.
Okay. Go and turn around for me.
Oh, no. I'm going to jail. What am I going to jail for? What have I done?
You just admitted to fraud.
So now you're going to railroad me on fraud?
Railroad you what? We're trying to figure out where your kid is.
My kid.
You're saying that he doesn't
You're
exist.
saying my kid. Cuff it, let me walk out.
We'll cuff you in front, okay?
This is embarrassing. I can get in the car. Do you got to take my dignity away and put me in cuffs in front of my neighbors?
We're not gonna put him behind you, okay?
My neighbors
We're gonna walk you to the car real quick and then we'll get you out of here, okay?
My neighbors, they've been knowing me for 6 years. You see that badge over there? I work 2 jobs in Genesis.
I hear you.
I go to school out here.
It seemed like the detectives had a gut feeling, and in the end, that instinct turned out to be right. After Sushi was arrested and escorted out of the house, they turned their attention to a detached garage on the property. The space was almost empty, just a few items pushed together in a corner beneath some shelves. Most of the objects were clearly visible at first glance, but one trash bin tucked away in the corner immediately caught the officer's attention. And honestly, that didn't feel random at all. It stood out as suspicious. So, forensic specialists were called to the scene, and the bin was carefully pulled away from the wall so they could see exactly what was inside. The men were hit with an extremely foul odor, and the bin itself was surprisingly heavy. When they took a closer look, they found exactly what they had been searching for. Inside, they discovered the body of a young boy, and at that point, it became painfully clear that it was Zion. So yeah, it turns out Sushi had been lying this entire time. Systematically, consistently, and honestly, without much hesitation at all, despite her repeated insistence that the boy never even existed. Zion was a real person. He lived, he breathed, he was part of that family. Yes, he's dead now, but he was just as real as every one of his brothers and sisters. Denying that wasn't just twisting the facts, it was an attempt to erase a human being from reality. Later on, one of the officers who was there would say, "I honestly can't even wrap my head around how someone could lie about the very existence of their own child. Not about the circumstances, not about the details, but about the fact that the child existed at all. That's got to be one of the most disturbing and dehumanizing things you can imagine, especially when we're talking about a mother and her son." After that discovery, Sushi was taken into custody again, this time facing a whole new set of additional charges. At that stage, it might have seemed like the case was inevitably heading toward the most serious possible charges. But what happened next turned out to be very different from what anyone initially expected. Police ultimately chose not to classify what happened as intentional murder. Instead, the case began to be treated as a tragic accident, one that Sushi Staples had allegedly tried to hide from the world. That shift in direction was largely based on statements given by two of Sushi's other children. Their accounts were chilling and heartbreaking at the same time. They told investigators that they had actually witnessed their brother's death. According to them, Zion Staples accidentally shot himself in the head after finding his mother's firearm. According to this version, everything happened in an instant. One fatal, irreversible mistake that permanently altered the life of that entire family. Preliminary autopsy results only intensified the tension. They showed that the death was not natural and therefore considered suspicious. Even so, the case was not charged as murder. Instead, Sushi Staples was accused of failing to report the death of a child under the age of 13, concealing the death, and obstructing justice. From the very beginning, it was clear that she was likely not facing life in prison. But explaining her actions, step by step, detail by detail, would take a very long time. And maybe this sounds obvious, but a mother doesn't usually hide the body of her own son. She doesn't grieve in secret. She doesn't live under the same roof as if he never existed. And she doesn't deny the simple fact that he was ever born. To do all of that, there had to be some deep and completely unacceptable level of inner guilt at play. Maybe it was tied to the realization of how reckless it was to allow Zion Staples access to a firearm, or maybe it was the shame of continuing to receive government assistance for a child who was no longer alive. Either way, whatever was driving it ran far deeper than denial. When the case reached the courtroom phase, the prosecution made its position very clear. The focus was not on murder, but on negligence, creating dangerous conditions for a child, and financial fraud on Sushi's part. According to police, Zion died from a gunshot wound that was most likely accidental and self-inflicted. Investigators believed he found a handgun inside the house, brought it up to his head, and pulled the trigger without understanding or realizing that the weapon was loaded. Prosecutors concluded that, up until the moment of the boy's death, Sushi was responsible only for exposing him to unsafe conditions. But what happened after the tragedy is what turned this case into something truly horrific. Instead of calling for emergency medical help, or even notifying authorities that her son had died, she involved her other children. She asked them to help hide their brother's body. Two of her daughters helped place the boy's body into a large plastic container. That container was later hidden in the basement, directly beneath the area where the family regularly ate breakfast and dinner together. After that, Sushi also asked the children to help replace the carpet, which at that point was soaked with blood and pieces of their brother's tissue. These were actions whose psychological consequences are almost impossible to erase. Detectives later determined that the house showed clear and systematic signs of attempts to mask the smell of decomposition. Every room was literally stuffed with clothing and dryer sheets. Investigators believed these were used to contain the odor inside the house and avoid alerting neighbors. But as we now know, even those efforts ultimately failed. Because of severe financial hardship, Sushi continued receiving government assistance for Zion even after his death. Despite the fact that the boy was no longer alive, and despite the fact that she had essentially erased his existence from daily life, the payments continued. For months, the money kept coming. Funds that, by their very nature, were meant to support a living child who was no longer there. When the smell of decomposition became unbearable and impossible to ignore, Sushi made another decision. At the far end of the yard, away from the living areas, she moved the body from the basement to an exterior garage. There, she placed it at the bottom of a large metal trash bin, pushed the bin into the corner, and tried to conceal it by piling other items on top. This didn't look like a temporary solution. It looked like an attempt to make the problem disappear, to make it unseen. When detectives finally discovered the body, they also noticed smaller details. Inside the garage, they found multiple air fresheners, a silent attempt to disguise what couldn't truly be hidden. When they opened the trash bin and looked inside, they saw the boy's body. He was wearing only a short pair of shorts decorated with Spider-Man, a stark and almost painful contrast between childhood imagery and the reality in front of them. Between December 2022 and July 2023, Zion's body remained on the property. It was there the entire time, close by, like a dark, silent, horrifying secret, hidden just a few steps away. And at the very same time, his mother, Sushi Staples, continued to receive government assistance that was meant to support him as if nothing had happened. Psychologists later described the situation this way: Zion Staples.
Even when I try to put myself in her place, even just for a few minutes, I still can't understand why she reacted the way she did. I get that people can behave irrationally under extreme stress, in moments of shock, panic, or total loss of control. But even then, I want to believe the reaction would have been different. That someone would scream, cry, break down, call for help, not try to hide the body of their own child. If you really sit with it, maybe her actions were driven by fear of losing custody of her other kids, and that fear pushed her down this path. Or maybe it was a more basic combination of stupidity, fear, and greed.
During a preliminary court hearing, it came out that Zion had most likely shot himself. The coroner confirmed that this scenario was medically possible. At the same time, he emphasized that it could not be proven definitively. The circumstances didn't allow investigators to say with certainty who fired the gun, and because of that, we will most likely never know the full truth. That uncertainty has led many people to believe that what happened may have been homicide, not an accident. Officials from the Department of Children and Family Services also stated that they had been involved with the Staples family multiple times over the past 10 years. During that period, several reports of suspected child abuse were investigated. However, none of those cases were ultimately substantiated, and each time, official involvement ended without further action. After the hearing, the judge ruled that there was sufficient probable cause for the case to move forward. As a result, a full trial was being planned. In response, Sushi waived the preliminary hearing phase and requested a jury trial, formally preparing to fight the case all the way through. However, before the case ever reached trial, she chose a different path. Prior to the start of court proceedings, Sushi agreed to a plea deal with the prosecution and pleaded guilty to endangering the life or health of a child. That decision automatically led to all other charges being dropped, leaving her to face consequences for that single, significantly narrower offense alone.
I should have done more, and I should have made the right decision, but I just don't know what happened. I am not a criminal. I am not a monster. I am just a mother who have tried over and over again, no matter how many times I fall, to get up and do the right thing again.
After pleading guilty, Sushi Staples was sentenced to a total of just 2 years in prison for her role in her son's death and the financial exploitation connected to it. The wording of the sentence sounded dry, almost bureaucratic, but behind it stood a long chain of decisions and actions with irreversible consequences. Since she had already spent 204 days in jail by the time sentencing took place, her actual remaining prison term was reduced. In the end, Sushi was ordered to serve 1 year and 5 months behind bars. The judge also made a point of addressing her mental health. He recommended that Sushi be placed in a specialized mental health facility, noting that she had already been formally diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. That decision seemed less like an attempt to excuse her behavior and more like an effort to explain it, at least in part. After completing her prison sentence, she was also given 6 months of mandatory supervision, a period during which her actions would remain under close oversight. But here's the part that's both ironic and telling. Sushi was still unhappy with the sentence. Despite the reduced time and the consideration of mitigating factors, she believed the judge had been too harsh on her. In her view, the punishment was unfair. Because of that, she filed a motion to withdraw her plea agreement and requested a resentencing, essentially trying to challenge a decision that many people already saw as lenient. In a handwritten letter to the judge, she wrote,
I'm asking that my sentence be reconsidered because I have no prior criminal record and I had never been to prison before this. My last interaction with law enforcement was more than 20 years ago.
By the way, there are a few commas missing here, and honestly, at this point, I don't even see the point in reading any further. The text falls apart on a basic structural level, and that jumps out immediately. But that's not the main issue. What really matters is remembering who wrote this letter. The author was a mother who consciously chose to homeschool her children and took full responsibility not just for their education, but for their safety, their well-being, and their lives as a whole. The core idea here is actually very simple and, at the same time, deeply unsettling. Despite everything she did, despite putting her own child in danger, allowing his death, hiding his body, collecting government benefits for months for a son who was already dead, and even attempting to deny that he ever existed at all, Sushi Staples genuinely believed that 2 years in prison was excessive and unfair. In her mind, it was too much. And that belief, more than missing commas or awkward wording, probably says more about her than any official document or legal language ever could. That absolutely stuns me, and every time I come back to this story in my head, I'm struck again by just how far some people are willing to go in their own lies. Sushi was so forceful and relentless in pushing her version of events, insisting that her son never existed, that at some point it crossed every possible line. She became aggressive even toward officers, people who were simply trying to establish facts and understand what had happened. That level of denial, that obsessive distortion of reality, and that constant framing of herself as the sole victim strongly resembles traits commonly associated with cluster B personality disorders. And honestly, I think most of us have encountered at least one narcissist in our lives, whether we realized it at the time or not. During sentencing, Sushi stated that she was not a monster. She portrayed herself as a mother who had fallen many times, made mistakes, but always tried to get back up and, in her words, do the right thing. It felt like an attempt to justify herself, a final effort to rewrite her role in this story. But if I'm being completely honest, and I strip away any emotional haze, I don't see a single moment here that I would call genuinely right. For me, there are no bright spots in this story. None. So this is where I personally stop. Although, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone else sees something different here. What do you think about this situation? Alright, I think that's enough for today. At some point, you just have to stop. So on that note, I want to sincerely thank all of you for watching this video. I truly appreciate you being here, listening, and sitting with these difficult, uncomfortable stories alongside me. As far as I know, Sushi will be released from prison relatively soon, which effectively brings this case to an end, at least from a legal standpoint, and closes out everything I can tell within the scope of this story. But I really do want to hear your thoughts. Maybe we all agree that this wasn't murder, but 2 years? Seriously? Does that feel fair to you? As always, please share your thoughts in the comments below. And once again, thank you all for watching and for being here. I genuinely appreciate it.